Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. That's him. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I know. No, he's noticed it now. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Oh my. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy holidays. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here today for the first visit that we have from Chief Derrick Foxworth. He's going to be speaking today about community policing and our chief commitment, presuming that's a play on words, or our chief's commitment, unless this was a typo. In any case, let me please ask you to turn off your cell phones or other noise-making devices first, and we'll proceed with just a few announcements before we get to the pièce de résistance. I wanted to mention next Friday's very special program. Mayor Vera Katz will be giving her final State of the City address, and we're very much looking forward to that. One of the privileges of membership is that members had an opportunity to buy tickets in advance, and they are in the mail. If you haven't received it, you will be receiving it shortly. But remember to bring them so that you don't have to wait in line. And for any of you who have reserved without sending in your money yet, or credit card, or whatever passes for currency, feel free to contact one of the staff or to call this week and give them your credit card number, because we're trying to avoid long lines at the door. It's going to be a packed and really very interesting and probably a bittersweet event. We're looking very much forward to it. She will be speaking on looking forward, the challenges and opportunities ahead. It will be here at the Governor. By the way, there will be no coffee or tea table tickets for that program, and there will be very limited seating in the back because there's usually a lot of press. So anyway, it pays to get in line in advance, and so that you won't have to stand in line later. I would like to mention for one final time, it's Swan Song, our art raffle. We have had artists who have kindly donated 5 pieces that we've been selling tickets for to help us furnish our new space, City Club Commons, across the street. To date, and I'm sure it's just waiting for your tickets to help out, to date we still don't have our tables and chairs. It's this lovely space that is waiting to be furnished. There are a few tickets available, going fast, great odds. You can purchase them from Wade Fickler in the back of the room. They're only $5, which means you can buy lots more than one. So thank you so much for your help on that. I'd like to mention, too, that our book club did not meet in November because of the holidays, but we're going to be meeting on December 6th. At that time, the book that hopefully everyone has been reading is Thomas Frank's book entitled, What's the Matter with Kansas? How Conservatives Won the Heart of America. Should be interesting. And that will be followed on January 31st by the book entitled Bobos in Paradise by David Brooks. I think that's so funny, that word, so I had to look it up on barnesandnoble.com and see what Bobos meant. And it's a comical look at what he came back from abroad and found that 2 classes had combined, the bourgeoisie and the bohemians. And so it's a look at that. So that should be very entertaining as well. Incidentally, this is a pretty exciting news. There is a streetcar stop called City Club Stop. So if you're coming on the streetcar from Northwest Portland to 10th and Washington, Portland Streetcar is co-sponsoring this, and it's called City Club Stop. Told you we're changing the complexion down here. So that's thanks to Portland Streetcar. Now, I should mention as well that all of the details of all of these events that I mentioned are in your programs, and they're also on City Club website called pdxcityclub.org, and you can get involved with the blog on that site as well. A little factoid, Merriam-Webster Online reports that the word most searched is blog this whole year. So we're kind of like on the cutting edge of that. We're right there because we all know it means weblog. I repeatedly, some of us know that. Some of us had to ask or look it up on Merriam-Webster. I repeatedly mentioned some of the really important reasons that City Club is a very worthwhile organization, But today I have Andy Sloop, who is going to come and speak to you a little bit about the details of that. Andy is our second vice president, and he chairs, I believe, the research board, and he'll tell you something more about the membership benefits. Andy Sloop.
Well, good afternoon. When our membership committee asked me to come and speak to you a little bit about membership, I said sure, because I think City Club is a fantastic, very important part of Portland. I've been a member for 14 years, and I joined to meet smart and thoughtful people and have a well-informed perspective on key issues in this community, and also to help keep Portland a great place. I grew up here, and I think it's the best place in the world to live, and I want to keep it that way, and think the City Club is a very good way to do that. I've been involved primarily on the research side of this organization, and one of the things I'm continually amazed by is how a group of strangers can come together to do a research project, and they make sense out of some very complex issues and generate very high quality research reports that I believe are read widely throughout the community and are influential. We need public discourse now more than ever, I think, as public discourse has become increasingly divisive. So we need to have a place like City Club where people can come together and engage in thoughtful discussion about key issues for our community. As you have heard, if you've been keeping track, City Club is going through a renaissance, and it's a vital, dynamic organization that continues to be open to anyone. Some people may have a perception that the club is not open to everyone, and the reality is that it is, and we welcome the intelligence and creativity and knowledge and perspective of new members. Those of you who are here today or listening on radio or TV who are not members, please take a minute now or very soon to join City Club. There are brochures on the tables here, or again, for those of you who may be listening today or later to the TV or radio broadcast, you can go to www.pdxcityclub.org and sign up there. There are a couple of different kinds of membership options for people under 30. There are some lower cost options as well as for people who don't live in the metro area. Thank you very much.
You just look around you and see the people that you're having an opportunity to sit with today, and to have the opportunity to have the kind of speakers that we have, and you'll know that this is only one of the faces of City Club, one of the many membership benefits. Now it is time to get to Chief Derrick Foxworth, and I would like to give you a little bit of background on him. He was hired by the Portland Police Bureau in 1981, and he worked in various divisions, including street crimes, drugs and vice, and on the gang enforcement team. In 1990, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant, and he worked for a time as Police Bureau's Public Information Officer. A couple of weeks ago, we had Donald Davis, who spoke about the value of stories, and so I'm going to tell a story on Chief Foxworth, about Chief Foxworth. It must have been the time that he was Public Information Officer, because I recognized him. I was going to a Metropolitan Human Services event, I think, at the Hilton, and I had parked several blocks away. It was night and it was dark, and I, a woman alone walking toward the Hilton, was being hyper-vigilant and keeping my antenna up, and I saw 3 police officers on the corner. Officer Foxworth at that time was one of them, and as I got to the corner, I said, "Oh, good, I'm so relieved, now I'll be safe." And he looked at me without missing a beat and said, "Unless you have to hit the ground fast because we're being shot at." So from then on, I always knew who Derrick Foxworth was. He continued to move up through the ranks and achieved the rank of lieutenant in 1994. And in 1996, he became a captain, and he oversaw several units. 1997, he was promoted to commander, and he served as one of 5 precinct commanders in the city. At Northeast Portland Precinct, he worked closely with citizens, neighborhood groups, faith communities, and he worked to reduce serious crime and gang-related violence in that community by improving neighborhood livability and relationships between citizens and police. In 2002, he was promoted to Assistant Chief Operations Branch, one of only 3 in the city, and in 2003, he was appointed Chief of Police by Mayor Vera Kratz. He has a bachelor's degree from the University of Portland, and his eldest son, Derrick, is now an officer with Portland Police Bureau, continuing the tradition. Chief Foxworth, welcome.
Thank you, Corleen. You know, she said a lot of wonderful things and nice things, but you know, she talked about the length of time I served with the organization. She also talked about the fact that I served a number of assignments and different ranks. But let me just share with you what I'm really proud of and what I'm much more humbled about, and I'd like to share with you, is that I came to Portland when I was at a very young age. And I have a twin brother, Daryl, who's an FBI agent down in San Diego, and I have a younger brother, Brian, who's a very accomplished musician. But what I'm most thankful for is the fact that I grew up here in Portland. I grew up in northeast Portland. I attended Humboldt Elementary School, Sabin Elementary School, Benson High School, graduate of 1976. We were the bicentennial class. And I also attended the University of Portland. My parents are here. They still live in northeast Portland. And I consider that I'm a product of the community. And because of the community that has given so much to me, I consider this a very distinguished honor for me to serve the community in this role as your Chief of Police. Before I get started, I would like to introduce some other people that are here this afternoon, some members from the Portland Police Bureau who have also come along, and I'd like for them to stand as well. They're sitting over here at the table, and would you please stand? Lieutenant Beard, Assistant Chief Stan Grubbs, Assistant Chief Jim Ferreras, Assistant Chief Jim McDaniels, Jane Brayton, for Planning and Support, and Marsha Palmer. Well, good afternoon. Next time I come back, we'll know how to do this. In the Portland Police Bureau, we have a tradition. We say good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We expect a rousing reply because we're kind of homely folks. We like to welcome people and make sure that they feel welcome. And this is something that was taught to us by citizens of the community when we go to neighborhood associations. So I'm going to try it again, and when I say good afternoon, I expect everyone to say good afternoon. So, good afternoon. That's good because it also lets me know that I have your attention. I would like to thank the City Club members for inviting me to speak today about recommitting our city to the vision of community policing. And I want to cover 3 topics with you today. The first one is I want to give you an update on what we've done in response to the 2003 City Club report on community policing and your recommendations. Secondly, I want to spend some time giving you information about our new strategic plan, the challenges we face as a city, how we work together to create this plan, and what we want to do and how we measure our progress. And third, I want to close with my personal commitment to community policing and what we can all do to strengthen our community partnerships. So first, let me start with an update on the progress that we've made on the recommendations from the City Club report. To do that, we will focus on 5 general areas of your recommendations. The first one was improved communication and community relations. The second, expand the role of the officer. The third, enhance human resources management. The fourth, address workload issues. And the fifth, improve planning and evaluations. And if you don't have a copy of that report, I know that there are some that were available on the back table when I walked in. So you may want to refer to that because I will be addressing each of those areas. So let me begin with the first one, improve communications and community relations. These recommendations focused on how the chief advocates for community policing with both employees and the community. Since I became chief a little more than a year ago, I've given 3 major presentations to the City Council where I have asked them for a citywide commitment to community policing and for a stable staffing commitment, which I'll talk more about. These presentations took place once during the budget presentation in April of 2004, again when I worked with Mayor Katz to draft a council resolution on community policing that they adopted in August of 2004, and again a week ago when I took our strategic plan to council and they adopted it. This plan also contains our vision statement for community policing. Community policing recognizes a shared responsibility and connection between the police and community in making Portland a safer, more livable city. Community policing encourages a problem-solving partnership between citizens and police. This partnership jointly identifies community safety issues, determines resources, and applies innovative strategies designed to create and sustain healthy, vital neighborhoods. And I'm continuing to reinforce this message as I share information with the newly elected mayor and commissioner. With members of the public, I have also held many meetings with people who have concerns about police and our ability to serve their specific communities. I'm glad to say that we've made real headway in recreating a Latino advisory council to the chief of police, that we've also spent a considerable time with the Albina Ministerial Alliance, and that we're reaching out to groups who needed to be heard. Internally, I reinstated the Chief's Hour at in-service. Every week, for 30 weeks, I spend an hour, and normally we go beyond that hour, maybe an hour and a half, with 20 to 30 members of the organization, police officers. And I hear from them face to face about their concerns and offer their suggestions to me as how we can improve the organization. Now, secondly, you recommended expanding the role of the officer, specifically to encourage greater neighborhood problem solving. And I'm glad you used the term role of the officer and not role of the special unit officer. Community policing is the responsibility of everyone in the Portland Police Bureau, and I want to keep it that way. For focused problem solving, we have stabilized the neighborhood response team. The strength of the neighborhood response team lies in the concept of teamwork. The district officer, the detective, the crime analyst, they can all be part of the team working together on specific problems. Moving on to number 3, you recommended enhancing human resources management, specifically in the areas of workforce diversity, training, discipline, and promotions. In the area of hiring and diversity, I'm proud to report that the partnership between police and the city's Bureau of Human Resources has really strengthened over the last year, and we found that we can accomplish a lot by working together. We work side by side to attract good candidates who represent the diversity in our community. Our focus is on long-term outreach in our local communities, using a contact of networks, the latest technology, and a commitment to mentoring to attract and keep these officers. The Police Bureau and the Bureau of Human Resources are working to create a long-term officer candidate development program to start talking to kids as early as the 5th grade about how they can work and contribute and be part of the Portland Police Bureau. We are also working to ensure that our work environment is respectful and inclusive. And this year, with a lot of community input and help from the Bureau of Human Resources, we created a 2-hour course on cultural competency that is part of our annual in-service training. With the success we had with working with the community on the cultural competency training, we want to institutionalize that community partnership. So, we will have a group of citizens advising us about all aspects of our training. This Citizens Training Council will be convened early next year in 2005. With that help, in reviewing the quality, we have also made a commitment to the quantity of training provided. The job of a police officer is more complex, challenging, and dangerous than ever before. So this year, I reinstituted 40 hours of in-service training for all sworn personnel. It does have a cost, but it is needed, and I believe we deserve to provide that training to our officers who expect to do so much. In doing so, it will also make sure that we are professional organizations and that our training meets or exceeds those of the national level. We also asked the state to increase their basic academy from 10 to 16 weeks, and they agreed to do so. And we expanded our own advanced academy from 14 to 16 weeks to cover a wider variety of topics, from tactical skills to Spanish to communicating with people in mental health crisis. The main focus is on sound training and supervision, but in those cases that require more review, such as when use of force is used or performance issues are raised, the community and employees wanted to be part of reviewing those cases. To that end, we've also created a use of force and performance review board that include both citizen and peer members as voting members. We've also updated our discipline policies for better coordination between the training division, the internal affairs division, and the independent police review division. And speaking of coordination, we have also institutionalized a collaborative problem-solving approach between labor and management by asking 3 of our major bargaining units to participate in the Police Bureau's Labor Management Committee. The last recommendations for human resources management were on the positive aspects, promotions and awards. Community policing is a component of our promotional criteria, and I have and will continue to include this in my decisions when it comes to promotions and assignments. It is also the focus of our Chiefs Forum Awards. And please let me take this opportunity here for a brief commercial, and I want everyone to take their pen out and make note of this. You're invited to attend our Chiefs Forum Community Policing Award ceremony. That will be held at 9 a.m. December 13th, which is a Monday, at the Portland Building Auditorium. These are always very positive events that focus on communication skills and problem solving that make up the building blocks of community policing. Number 4, you recommended addressing workload issues. I think I can best cover this topic when I review the strategic plan and its performance measures with you in just a few moments. Number 5, you recommended improving planning and evaluation, and that's where your City Club Committee on Community Policing comes in again. I met with your committee in early of October 2003 when I became chief, and I asked them if they would serve as part of our sounding board to help us develop our next strategic plan. In each plan, we introduced enhancements to address concerns we've heard over the previous year, and hearing that we needed to do a better job on our community policing mission and how we express it, we asked your committee members to serve again, and they did. Over several evenings, we had every division manager present their draft strategies to the group. This group was made up of City Club members and also members from our existing policy advisory groups. The feedback we received was very valuable, and we used it. And now I'd like to turn to the second major component of my presentation today, and that is to give you a description of the highlights in our strategic plan that was just adopted by the City Council last week. The plan starts with our mission, which is to maintain and improve community livability by working with all citizens to preserve life, maintain human rights, protect property, and promote individual responsibility and community commitment. It is guided by our values, which are service, compassion, integrity, excellence, and respect. And the 6th one that we've added this year, accountability. And our plan is focused on 5 main goals, 3 community goals and 2 organizational goals. The three community goals are: number one, to reduce crime and the fear of crime; number two, improve neighborhood livability; and number three, improve the partnership between police and the community. And our two organizational goals are to improve accountability and also to develop and encourage our personnel. What stayed the same in the plan are its basic mission, measurements, and commitment to extensive community and employee feedback. What changed in the plan, in addition to the emphasis on accountability, is that we grouped our performance measures under specific results statements for each goal. These goals are accompanied by a summary of accomplishments from the last plan, and they reflect the strategies that were created from extensive employee discussions and review by our community and other agency partners. In creating these strategies, we relied on discussions such as the one we held with our command staff late last year so that they could report to each other what they heard from their respective communities. And this year, for the first time, we also convened our community sounding board. I'd now like to describe a few highlights of the strategies brought forward in our strategic plan. In goal number one, our emphasis is on reducing crime and the fear of crime, and a major contributor to the fear of crime are significant crimes that go unsolved. On November 10th, we announced the creation of what we are calling our Cold Case Homicide Unit. This team of investigators will review Portland's 280 unsolved homicides. They will focus on those that most contribute to community fear and publicize to the community that we are looking for leads. And this month, we are featuring 4 unsolved homicides on a special part of our website. We are also moving toward electronic field reporting that will allow us to have real-time access to data and crime analysis trends. After a lot of collaboration with other city bureaus and our federal funding partners, we are creating tools for officers to complete reports in the field and electronically submit them. This technology, which we expect to launch in February of 2005, will dramatically improve when data is available to our officers and our investigators. And instead of a 4-day wait before a detective knows about a robbery, it could be a matter of minutes. In goal number 2, improving the quality of life in the neighborhoods, we are re-emphasizing our commitments to the neighborhood problem solving, and in the plan, you will see a number of strategies that reflect grassroots problem solving with officers, community members, crime prevention, and other agency partners working together to solve crime and livability problems. I also want to note that one of our most effective tools has been in partnership with our district attorney's office, where we teach citizens to work with officers on how to provide enough information for search warrants. They, in essence, become the eyes and ears for safety in their block. And goal number 3, improving the community and police partnerships. We are also re-emphasizing our current and increasing roles for community involvement. In addition to creating the Citizens Training Council, which I mentioned earlier, we brought back the popular Citizens Academy, and this sets a foundation for people to learn more about why we do what we do. Public education brochures also help the community to learn why we do what we do. And one of the brochures that I'm most proud of is Understanding Police Procedures brochures that was created to help people understand what happens during a traffic stop and during a police encounter. And to keep advising us on whether what we do matches the community's vision, I'd like to take a moment to mention the 9 advisory committees for the Police Bureau who meet monthly. Be patient with me. The African American Advisory Council, the Asian Law Enforcement Council of Oregon, the Arab Muslim Police Advisory Council, the Bureau Advisory Committee with the focus on budget, the Chiefs Forum, the Crisis Intervention Team, the Developmental Disabilities Advisory Committee, the Latino Advisory Council, and the Sexual Minorities Roundtables. And this does not include the neighborhood association meetings that our neighborhood liaison officers attend on a monthly basis. As you can tell, we value, and we receive a lot of community feedback. We look forward to strengthening these partnerships, adding new members, and asking for their advice. In goal number 4, we turn to those strategies that help us develop and encourage our biggest investment, which is our own employees. You've already heard some of the strategies in place on recruitment, because we want our positions filled with people who represent the diversity in our community. Goal 4 also includes our training strategies with improvements to both quality and quantity, as I mentioned earlier. I also want to note that we introduced new technologies to create and distribute roll call training videos on an ongoing basis to reinforce what is taught in our annual in-service training. And finally, Goal 5 is a new one, to improve accountability. This goal was added after extensive feedback from both employees and the community. This goal contains strategies that reflect not only fiscal accountability, but also new strategies for reporting the use of force, analyzing police stops data to address community concerns about racial profiling, and creating the use of force and performance review boards. Now, since your recommendations also refer to our performance measures, I like to describe our latest data in 4 areas. And they are our community survey, our employee survey, our reported crime trends, and our staffing needs. Number 1, our latest community survey. We conducted our 6th community telephone survey of 607 randomly selected households. This occurred in October 2003. We then compared those results with what we've been collecting since 1994. We have found that the extent of the public safety problems in our community are consistent over the years. A quarter of our residents reported being a victim of crime and also reported that they contacted police about a crime or public safety problem. In our survey, the top crime and public safety problems reported were car prowls or theft from autos. Number 2 was auto theft. Number 3 was traffic speeding and collisions. Number 4 was abandoned autos. And number 5 was a tie between burglary, break-ins, and drug activity. These crime and public safety problems do affect the community's perception of crime. From 1994 to 2000, we saw that the ratings of how well community members perceived their neighborhood as safe and was leveled out across the city. So in effect, what we saw that there were neighborhoods achieved a type of parity in their perception of safety. In 2003, however, we saw a decline in this parity. And once again, we see residents in East, North, and Northeast perceiving their neighborhoods as not as safe as other parts of the city. And this is something that requires our attention that we will be working on. What is encouraging is that the citizens themselves show an increased willingness to get involved in public safety activities. Since 1994, we saw a gradual decline in citizen participation. In 1994, 22% of residents reported attending a public safety meeting, while in January of 2003, only 16% of residents had attended a public safety meeting. In late 2003, this percentage has increased to 19%. This willingness to participate, together with our emphasis on neighborhood problem solving, will help in tackling the increased crime and safety problems. And we also see encouraging news in people who know their neighborhood officer. 27% of residents heard of their neighborhood officer. Now that's up 4% from January 2003. However, residents still report wanting to see an increase in police presence in their neighborhoods, and the availability of police becomes critical in how citizens perceive their overall satisfaction with city police services. Our survey shows that person-to-person contact still nets the highest citizen satisfaction rating. Residents reported the highest level of satisfaction when they spoke with an officer who responded to a call in person. This means that we need to look for ways to continue to allow officers to provide these direct services and take time with citizens in our community. Now let me share the results from our latest employee survey. We have also conducted an employee survey since the early 1990s. In the 2003 survey, we asked employees to list what they thought the Bureau's values should be, and the top 5 were integrity, respect, service, accountability, and excellence. And this is from the employees of the Portland Police Bureau. Based on this feedback from both community members and employees, we added accountability to our agency's values. Employees were also asked to answer a series of standard questions to measure their overall job satisfaction in 7 main areas. Our 2003 survey showed a positive trend. Scores for all 7 categories were the same or higher as in all previous surveys. I now want to take the opportunity to update you on our current crime trends. And I don't know if you have this in front of you, but we have a 4-page handout summary that they're in the back. We had a 4-page handout summary that I would like for you to take and review as you leave this auditorium this afternoon. But there are 8 major categories in reported Part 1 crimes. And those include murder, rape, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, motor vehicle theft, and arson. While we have seen increases for the last 3 years, our 2004 reported Part 1 crimes appear to be coming in with a decline of 4%, which is good news. If we were to look at these same crimes per 1,000 population, we would see a spike in 2003, a high of 86 reported crimes per 1,000 population. 2004 is shaping up to be a return to our 2001 and 2002 reported crime levels, which is 82 reported crimes per 1,000 population. Reported crime tells a story of victimization in our community, yet calls for service is our biggest indicator of overall workload in responding to crime. Over the past 5 years, we have continued to see increases in our dispatch calls for service. And over the last 3 years, we also see an increase in officer-initiated calls for service, which covers incidents such as persons and traffic stops. This increase in calls for service and officer-initiated calls has had an effect on the time available for problem solving, which is a cornerstone of community policing. In 1999, we achieved a high of 39% of officer time available for problem solving. And now, in 2003, we fell below our community policing goal of giving officers at least 35% of their workday for problem solving activities. In the last year, officers had 32% of their time available for problem solving. Now let me turn to our staffing and budget trends. We have seen a gradual increase of population since 1999. Population figures gradually moved up from more than 512,000 people to more than 545,000 people in 2003, which is an increase of almost 33,000 residents. In 1999, we received 404,000 calls for service. And in 2003, we received 455,000 calls for service, an increase of 51,000 calls for service. If you were to compare these figures, population increases and calls for service, to the budget reductions the Police Bureau has seen since 1999, you would see a very stark picture. Since 1999, our budget has been cut by $11.7 million. These reductions equate to positions that have been cut or frozen over the last few years. Since 1997, we've experienced a total reduction of 105 sworn officers and 66 non-sworn positions. Although we were directed to reallocate funds within our existing budget to fund 10 officer positions starting in January of 2005, that still brings our overall total to a loss of 95 sworn positions and 66 non-sworn positions since 1997. This has had a considerable effect on our ability to deliver the amount and quality of community policing services the community expects. 4 of our 5 precincts are now closed, evenings, nights, and weekends. 4 out of 5 of our precincts are closed, evenings, nights, and weekends. That means officers cannot meet citizens for neighborhood association meetings. Citizens cannot come to those precincts to discuss public safety matters. Our time available for problem solving is at our lowest level yet. We investigate fewer crimes than we should. And with our federal overtime grants drying up, we have fewer resources available for livability missions. This has led to some very difficult conversations within the organization and with our community leaders about trade-offs and how we allocate personnel. We need to maintain our patrol strength to keep up an acceptable response time when our citizens call emergencies. But we also need to continue to staff some units focused on specific types of crimes with specific partners and strategies. For example, those officers and detectives who are focused on domestic violence, child abuse, gangs, youth violence, and our drug and vice division. Despite these challenges, I remain even more committed to community policing. And in closing, I want to describe what a broader commitment could look like. I have asked the community to renew their commitment to community policing, to be involved, to report crime, to know your neighborhood officer, to be accountable and hold us accountable, and to review our strategic plan and provide us with feedback. I have also asked the members of the Portland Police Bureau to recommit themselves to community policing, to improve communication, to build partnerships, to be familiar with our strategic plan, and to also be accountable. And I asked the City Council for 2 things. Number 1, I asked them to adopt a stable staffing commitment for the Portland Police Bureau. And number 2, I asked them to continue to make a citywide commitment to community policing. And I'm looking to them for support to restore officers' time available for problem solving. I'm also looking forward to more joint problem solving sessions where several bureaus can come together, such as the Bureau of Emergency Communications, our Fire Bureau, our Office of Neighborhood Involvement, our Parks Bureau, and Transportation Bureau, all working together on common public safety issues. And lastly, I make my own commitment to community policing. I remain committed to serving the community. It is through this dedication to service that we will find the ideas we need to solve problems. I remain committed to excellence. We must be diligent in researching best practices and lessons learned so we can bring that knowledge back to the community that we serve. And finally, I remain committed to creating and maintaining partnerships. It is my hope that the City Club will partner with the Portland Police Bureau and will continue to advocate for community policing, to keep us on track, to encourage community involvement, and to encourage City Council support. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief, for recognizing the City Club committee that did excellent research, the kind of quality research that's done in the cooperation between our committee that I would like to all, if you could all stand, please. I won't name you, but the committee is here, the committee that did that quality research. Is it just Meredith? Those of you, and Wade Fickler, who's our research director. This is the kind of the kind of civic engagement that really helps us work with the community and helps make City Club hopefully a good resource for others as well. I did neglect to mention our new sponsors this quarter who make broadcasts, in part make these broadcasts possible: Nike Incorporated, Portland General Electric, and Preston Gates and Ellis LLP. I will now introduce Doug Marker, who is the president-elect, and he is our board host today, who has the privilege of asking the first question. And City Club members will also have the privilege of asking questions. Here are the microphones. Please keep them to 30-second questions. And Chief Foxworth does have to leave. He has a 1:30 appointment, so let's be succinct. Thank you.
Thank you, Corleen. Chief Foxworth, I appreciated your detailed response to the recommendations of our report to you as the Chief of Police. One of the parts of the report that I was impressed by was pointing out the importance of integration of effort with other city bureaus. And I heard you speak to that just briefly at the end of your speech, but especially taking advantage of Eric Sten being here. Could you expand a little bit on the importance of the commitment to community policing from other bureaus in the city?
You know, in my presentation, I talked about the importance of the Portland Police Bureau working with other bureaus here in the city. And a couple of very good examples is that, let me back up and say this. Let me remind you what community policing is: a shared responsibility for the welfare of our community. And that means it's just not the responsibility of the Portland Police Bureau, but it's the responsibility of other city agencies, other civic organizations, and other city bureaus as well. And there's two fine examples that I like to point out that recently we've had great success in. And I mentioned our partnership and working with the Bureau of Human Resource in terms of trying to develop a comprehensive strategy to improve diversity within our organization. And through that partnership, we've come up with some specific recommendations and some activities that we're going to be pursuing in hopes of increasing the diversity in the Portland Police Bureau. Secondly, many of our precincts have neighborhood problems that they're dealing with on a regular basis. And as police officers, you see us walk around with all these different pieces of equipment on our belt. Well, oftentimes the tools that we carry are not necessarily the right ones to address a community problem. For example, when you're sometimes dealing with abandoned property or drug houses, rather than invest personnel time in writing search warrants, serving search warrants, and making arrests, sometimes it's much more effective to work with housing inspectors. If you have a problem in a park, sometimes it's much more effective to work with the Parks Bureau and say increasing lighting and getting park rangers out there, so that it's just not law enforcement, it's just not the Portland Police Bureau dealing with these. So those are the type of partnerships, those are the type of examples that I like to see more of in the upcoming year.
Nikki Lynch, City Club member. I like the general things you said, but I'm kind of interested specifically. You mentioned problem solving as something you want to spend more time. Could you give me some examples of problem solving? That sounds sort of interesting.
Oh, yes. Unfortunately, uniformed officers who are assigned to our precincts, who patrol your communities every day, oftentimes they go to a victim who's been victimized, a car prowl, or a burglary. And they take a report, they have some leads that they would like to follow up on. But oftentimes, because of the number of calls that are waiting in their district, or because of higher priority calls that come up, they don't have the time to actually do the follow-up that they would like to do. They oftentimes don't have the time to go out and talk to citizen groups, to talk about public safety issues, or talk about community issues. That's an area that we need to work on. We need to restore the amount of time that the uniformed officer working in our neighborhoods has to go out and do community policing, and to go out and be able to do the follow-up that we need them to do.
Meredith Savory, member. I was also part of the study committee. I want to congratulate you on how much you've been able to achieve with limited resources. Our report pointed out that budget constraints would be a problem for you in trying to implement some of the recommendations we made, but you've done amazing work, and we congratulate you. My question is, there have been changes also in the Office of Neighborhood Involvement, and I wonder how those have affected the partnership with the neighborhoods.
Good question. Well, first of all, let me say thank you for the compliment, but I also need to remind you that it's a good organization with good people who are working hard every day. And I like to say that I'm smart enough to surround myself with good people as well. And those folks sitting there at the table, they take a lot of the credit for the changes and improvements that we've made over the past 12 to 14 months. And working with their division leaders, their command staff, detectives, officers, the unions, we've all done this together. So thank you for the compliment, but I just want to remind you and let you know that it's something that's shared among all of us. Secondly, about our relationship with the Office of Neighborhood Involvement. We continue to have a good relationship. As with anything, when there are changes in leaderships or positions, sometimes it takes a while for people to get back up to speed and become familiar with the issues in their bureaus. But Assistant Chief Grubbs, who's in charge of our operations branch, which includes our precincts, has met with the Office of Neighborhood Involvement, and their director has come to their branch staff meetings and met with all the precinct commanders and talked about partnerships, talked about joint problem-solving efforts, and just talked about the relationship that we have with the Office of Neighborhood Involvement. So it's that type of collaborative approach where we can actually sit down and talk about those issues that I think is going to continue to make our relationship with ONI a lot better and take it forward.
Joe Smith, City Club member. As you know well, the most important goal of community policing is to get the cooperation of the community, without whose cooperation successful police work is almost impossible. For the last several months, I've been serving as a member of the Albina Ministerial Association's ad hoc committee, which came into being because of the Kendra James and Jahar Perez homicides. And I've become very aware of a discontent because of perception that the district attorney does not adequately pursue things like that. Having served as a district attorney, I also am very aware that perhaps the most significant constituency for a district attorney is the police establishment. What would you think about trying to remove that perception and that pressure by assigning to the Attorney General the district attorney's responsibility involving the investigation of any police homicide anywhere in the state?
Well, I think you have to go back to what is the problem. And if the problem is a matter of perception, then I always feel that that's where we need to work better on education, information and education, and explaining the process and making people feel part of the process. All too often in our, not only in our minority communities, but those communities where they have higher incidence of poverty level or single family homes, they don't feel as though they have access to government. They don't feel that government listens to them. And that's where we need to do a better job, I believe, in outreach and trying to educate them, trying to establish that dialogue, because I believe that with dialogue comes trust and understanding. And I think that's where we really need to put our focus on with those communities, doing a better job of outreach, including them, making sure that they know that they are listened to, that they are heard, and making them part of the process.
Good afternoon, Chief. Herman Mandel, City Club member. As I've been involved with Chiefs Forum over a number of years, it seems to me the Bureau is constantly being asked to do more and more and given less and less to do it. With the increase in population to close to 1.5 million, even the fully authorized strength does not meet the criteria of 2 officers per 1,000 population. Given the present budget and the way things look in the future, do you really think the Bureau can meet all its goals, particularly those of community policing, at the present budgetary level?
Thank you, that's a good question. You know what I think is this, is that we have to have an honest conversation with our community and ask them what's important to them, ask them what type of services would they like to see us provide, and then also have a discussion about the available resources and what we realistically can provide. I don't think that, given what we're currently doing and the lack of problem-solving time that we have, that we're doing a very good job. And I'm looking forward to that, with the new mayor coming in, that one of the efforts we would like to do is to do a little bit more outreach to the community and say, what is it you would like to see? What services would you like to see us provide? The time that it takes to take car prowl reports. In the police bureau, sometimes officers view that as something that if we were not able to do that, if we were freed up from taking car prowl reports, because oftentimes there's not a lot of clues to follow up on, that they would have more time to do problem solving. The downturn is when you look at the community survey, number one concern that citizens had was car prowls. And secondly, also citizens expressed greater satisfaction when they had face-to-face contact with a police officer. So those are the type of issues that we need to talk about with our community, and then come up with an agreement that this is what we're going to honestly be able to provide, given the resources that we have.
Dr. Ed Press, City Club member. You mentioned that 4 of the 5 precincts are closed evenings, nights, and weekends because of budget cuts. Are those budget cuts due to the mayor, to the city council, to the rivalry between Democrats and Republicans in the city council? What are they due to, and what can City Club members do to help restore that?
You know, I think that the city as a whole had some tough decisions that they had to make. There's a number of other services that the city has to provide to citizens. And I think that's when it gets back to having an honest discussion with citizens about what the budget is, what services the city provides, and what level of services they would like to have those things provided at. Your second question was?
Is it the partisan conflict, the mayor, the city council? What is it, and what can the City Club members do to help you?
Well, what the City Club can do to help us is, as I mentioned in closing, that is to be an advocate for the Portland Police Bureau. It's to be an advocate for the Portland Police Bureau. You've heard what has happened since 1997, an $11.7 million cut in our budget, a loss of positions, a loss of problem-solving time. Calls for service have increased, but positions have been lost. And when it comes to, your question or your comment about what contributes to that reduction, I tend to think, and maybe I'm an optimist, but I believe that everybody wants the best for the city of Portland. They want the best for our community, and I believe the members of the city council and the mayor want the best for Portland. It's just that sometimes we differ on how to get there and who's going to drive us there. But I think that we all want to have a good, viable city, healthy city, safe streets, safe neighborhoods, and there are some benefits that having good parks where young people can go and play, where families can go and visit, that does contribute to reducing crime and the fear of crime. There are other programs out there that other bureaus do participate in. So it's just a matter of honestly having that discussion with the community about what is it you want, and this is what we can do, funded at this level. Thank you.
Time for one last question.
I'll take one more.
Chief, Bill Savage, a City Club member. Could you comment on the impact that 9/11 and the anti-terrorism situation has had on your staffing and use of resources?
That's a very good question. As we all know that after 9/11, there was great concern about homeland security and about emergency preparedness. Prior to 9/11, under the COPS grant, many local law enforcement agencies across the country received monies that went towards hiring police officers. They received money that allow us to pay overtime for officers to do livability missions. Since 9/11, the problems that we were dealing with, such as gangs, prostitution, and all those other crimes, they still existed at 9/11, and they still exist post 9/11. But what has happened is that all the funding for the COPS grant, where we use that money to hire police officers and do missions, has been shifted. And it's much more restrictive. It's gone towards homeland security, it's gone towards training, it's gone towards equipment, such as hazardous training equipment. And it is not flexible enough where we can use those funds to do the things that we used to do, even though we still have the same problems that we're facing. And this is something that when I had an opportunity to meet with Secretary Tom Ridge a couple months ago, I brought this concern up. And I also know that it's not a concern that's just shared by me, but by Chief Brian Martinick from Vancouver. He and I were at a conference about 5 or 6 months ago with other major cities chiefs, and we talked about this issue. And we talked about sending a delegation from the International Association of Chiefs of Police to Washington to advocate for more money that went towards hiring police officers so that we can continue to do the job that we did pre-9/11. Yeah, I did.
I asked him if he got an answer from Tom Ridge. In any case, I think this has been very enlightening. We really appreciate your coming to fill us in on what's been happening in the last year, year and a half of your tenure, and it looks as if we're headed in a positive direction. Thanks so much, and those of you lucky enough to have tickets for next Friday Forum with Vera Katz, I'll see you then, right here. We're adjourned.